Good afternoon, David Hanson, Superintendent, Dawson-Boyd Schools. I want to spend a couple of minutes with you and talk about the operational levy that will be held on November 2nd, General Election Day. A couple of things here. First of all, a little history to it. Back in November of 2011, the district approved an operational levy for the day-to-day operations of the district. This levy is set to expire on December 31st of this year. So on November 2nd of this year, General Election Day, we are asking the public to go to a vote to vote on this operational levy. If you're unable to make the general election on November 2nd, you certainly can pick up an absentee ballot here at the school, and you can receive that here at the district office. And as of the moment, we are located in the ag office and the ag classroom until our offices are done with the construction. One of the things that needs to be made clear is that, certainly this district did vote on something back in February 2019, and that was a bond referendum, which by law you can only use on basically buildings, remodeling buildings, updating the existing structures, those types of things. Easy way to remember that is that bonds are for bricks and mortar. What we're asking you on November 2nd is an operational levy, which basically, if you want to make it as simple as possible, it affects our people and the programs that we do inside the building. Basically, instructional supplies, curriculum, wages, utility costs, those types of things. All of those things are affected by the ability to pay that, and obviously those costs continue to rise, and that's what an operational levy would be paying for. If this passes, is it a tax increase? Yes, it would be a tax increase. The current levy referendum that will expire in December is basically $270 per student. It raises approximately $170,000 in revenue per year for the school district. If this does pass, the additional $190 per student would add an additional $115,000 in revenue to the school district. Obviously, I don't want it to go backwards, but if it does not pass, we would lose $170,000 from our revenue, and we would have to figure some things out there as to how we would make that up. I do know that one of the big questions that I get, especially out on the streets and when I go into stores and so forth in town, how's this going to affect me? I'm a farmer. I farm 750 acres. I rent another 1,000, that type of question. And it's a very good question. If this passes, this is something that will only affect the house, garage, and one immediate acre around your property, whatever that assessment is. It does not affect the farmland that you are farming. If you are renting farmland, it would not cause the landowner to have to increase rent on it, because they would not be charged an additional tax on it, because operational levies do not affect farmland. As well, along those same lines, if you own leisure property or vacation property like a cabin or something like that, it doesn't affect those either. Is there an estimate as to what I might be paying if this were to pass? And basically, obviously, with the chart that you see there, approximately on a $100,000 assessed property, it will raise your taxes approximately about $39 to $40 per year. Now, if you look at that and you divide that over 12 months, that's roughly about $3.25. If I look at that and it's like, okay, what in my life over a month is worth $3.25? Well, every morning I do get a coffee, and then eventually I wind up getting some other soda or beverage to drink during the day. And it's like, well, can I cut one of those out a month? To me, it's worth it for these kids, definitely, to give them the best opportunity at the next step in life. However, there is a little bit even better way to find that out. And what you see on the screen now is a QRF code. And if you have a QRF reader on your phone, it will take you directly to the website page that you see there with the blackjack logo in the yellow box in the middle. Now, the way this operates is that you need to know what your tax parcel ID numbers are. If you don't know, those black boxes right above the yellow box you can click on that and you can enter in your name, and it will give you all the tax parcel IDs that are linked to you. And then you will need to come back to this screen, which is also available on the school website, and it will give you the updated. It has all the new assessments and everything else that will be proposed for 2022 from the county and everything else. It is the most accurate way to find that out. I do know that when I was at the county fair, there was a large number of people that I talked with, and this is exactly how we did that. Just one example, somebody who is on the south end of our district, they no longer have students in our district anymore. They have all grown and moved on and so forth, but they are farmers. And so they were wondering, what's going on with this, and, how do I find out what that's going to be and so forth. So I use this tool here to show them that. And we went through 3 different parcel ID numbers, and roughly what they found out was that their taxes were going to increase roughly about $27, $28 per year. I do know that spouse immediately called their spouse and said, you know what, we do need to vote on this because it's only going to raise our taxes $28. That's how simple of a tool this is, and I certainly encourage you to use this. Now, obviously, if it does pass, what are we going to be using it for? I've already mentioned that it is used for curriculum, supplies, those types of things. But are those things important? Well, this is what I can tell you. If you want your kids to be the most competitive and prepared for the next step in their life, they're going to need updated curriculums. When I arrived on scene 2.5 years ago, we started doing a thing called strategic planning. And one of the things that we found out was that a number of our curriculums are extremely outdated. We do have one curriculum that we're supplementing for because it is so outdated, but one of them is from 2006. Now, in the state of Minnesota, every 7 years, the state of Minnesota updates and increases its standards. So if you take that into account, that one curriculum is actually 2 cycles out of cycle. And so important to me is that we provide the best education that we can for our students that are coming through Dawson-Boyd. And like I said, if you're farming, you want the best equipment, you want the best seed, those types of things to do what's going on. If you're running a business, obviously you want the best products, you want to have the best employees and those types of things. The school is no different. And we can't raise our prices on the things that we do. We have to go back to the voters and ask for that assistance, obviously. Another thing that it will help with is, and this is one of the reasons that I came to Dawson-Boyd, is because I believe strongly in career and technical classes like plumbing, electrical, welding, those types of things, as well as I also believe concurrent enrollment like college and the high school classes. I believe that the best opportunity for our kids is that if we can immerse them in those types of classes here, we can get those involved with area businesses and give them a shot at letting them know that, you can make a pretty good living right here in Dawson. And we actually are giving you the foundation so that you can do those things. Obviously, I also am extremely biased. I know that, but the teachers and employees that we have here are very, very good. We're nearing 45% of our teachers are holding master's degrees, not just general master's degrees, but they have master's degrees in their area of teaching. So importance of that is that you have a very wide and highly educated and certified staff. In order to keep those people here, we do want to train them. We do want to keep them. And obviously, as the years have gone by, there are those that will retire, and we need to attain equally, if not better, teachers in those areas as well as other employees. Currently, the school district is hurting for paras, for custodians, for food service people. It's because we're not able to keep up with our area school districts in offering. These people are choosing to go elsewhere because, and just like they are experiencing, life costs are going up for them too. So that's an important part to me as well. Affordable Care Act, and I think everybody's well aware of this, but due to the Affordable Care Act, if you work at a place, it is a requirement by law that we at least provide an opportunity health insurance benefits. We don't receive extra funding for this from the federal or state government, but as we all know, these costs are going up, and I think everybody's seeing that happen. We want to continue services to the public that we are, recently just getting started. Most easily to see is the daycare and the before and after school programs that we got going on. Currently, we don't have a lot of activity fees. I do know in the years that I've been here, our activity fees haven't gone up. In fact, actually, for example, Mr. Offit, for admission to home events, if you're a student at Dawson-Boyd, we only charge you $1. There's not a school district around here that does that. We are widely known for our excellence in the classroom. We're widely known for our excellence outside the classroom, and I want to continue that. But I can tell you this much, those things do not come for free. And this levy referendum, if it were to pass, it's a one-time vote, but it would last for the next 10 years. So we won't have to come back to the voters and say, we would like to do this again year after year after year. It would be for 10 years. If it doesn't pass, we would have to find cost-saving measures elsewhere. That might be in the case of some of those things that I mentioned earlier. Some of those programs we may not be able to offer, or we might have to cut them altogether. Maybe we have to look at the number of FTEs or the full-time education employment units that we have. We would maybe have to go to a half-time teacher in, let's say, and I'm just pulling this out of the air, but let's say it's in our wood classes, our CTE classes. It's going to be very difficult to find somebody that's going to take a job for part-time or half-time. Wages, salaries, and those types of things, just to keep pace with the school districts ahead of us. Whether we like to admit or not, we are in competition with those school districts. If we want to keep the people that we have, not only attract, retain, and keep them, we do have to stay in competition with them. We don't have to be top of the line, which we are definitely not. But if we don't maintain where we are at as far as being in the upper middle, employees have families, and they certainly have needs and costs that they have to take care of at the home as well. And I do know that we have lost over the last year and a half because we could not raise our wages as fast and as high as the area businesses and school districts could. We have lost probably about 7 or 8 employees in the last year and a half due to just that reason alone. We are a very strong school district, and not only are we a strong school district for our resident students, but we also open and enroll about 220 students from area school districts. That makes us a very viable, healthy school district. The reason why a lot of them choose us is because we do have these extra programs. If we want to keep that viable and healthy school district, we want to be able to continue to offer these programs so it does attract those students, and that we continue to remain that way over the future years. Non-educational programs, and I mentioned this earlier, this just got going, but if they're non-educational, we might have to look at them as like, okay, what are we here for? What's our goal? What's our vantage point? What do we have to focus on the most? And one of those things that falls into those areas that does not fall into education is the daycare and the before and after school programs that we've got. And I'm not saying that would be on the block, but it definitely would have to be looked at. And do we have the ability to offer those things for our families? And I can tell you right now, daycare is a huge need in this area. Our transportation fleet, now we're not running around with brand new buses and brand new cars and everything else. A lot of what we have are from 2001, 2006, 2007. We do have a couple of new buses that were bought with ESSER funds over the last 2 years. But other than that, we do not have a brand new fleet. What that winds up being is that we do have maintenance costs, and of course those maintenance costs do go up. If we need to replace a bus, instead of buying a brand new bus, we wind up buying somebody's used bus. And and this is probably old-fashioned thinking, but a lot of times when you buy used, you're buying somebody else's problems. And when you are looking at school buses, and you've got, in my opinion, the most valuable resource to this country in our area, our students, our kids, you don't want to take that risk, especially when you're out there and it's 20 below zero. And some of these bus routes, you are out there a good half hour before you're anywhere near able to be gotten reached. The bottom line is that if this were not to pass, there's going to have to be some serious thought done to what we need to do here. And fine, so the adults, that type of thing, well, we can survive. If we have that mentality, that's fine. But the bottom line is it's going to affect, and like I said already, it's going to affect the most important resource that I believe this country has, and that is our students. Over the last couple of weeks, I have had a couple of people ask me some very good questions. And of course, being in a rural area, I grew up in a rural area. I know exactly the questions. If your farmers are doing well, and that means people inside town are doing well, and so on and so forth. I understand, and this is a little bit of Reaganomics from the 80s, but the trickle down effect. Well, a lot of times the question is, and I just pose it on there, I own and farm 750 acres. How much will my taxes go up on that land if it passes? Again, as I've already said, this does not affect the land that you farm, that you own, nor will it affect the land that you rent from some other landlord. The answer is zero. A levy referendum does not affect those types of land. Again, if you are a rural landowner, it will affect the house, the garage, and the immediate 1 acre around your house, and that is it. And again, if you have any vacation property or leisure property like a cabin, lake cabin, or anything else, it does not raise taxes on that either. Back in February 2019, thank you very much, and extremely huge thanks for this, but the district passed a bond referendum. If there's any money from that, can we possibly use any of that leftover revenue from that to replace this? Well, first of all, I can tell you this, there's not going to be anything left over from that. We are on budget and everything else, but luckily we got in when we did, because some of those costs are starting to rise on us. And if we want it done and done the way we want it, it's costing us a little bit more just to get that done. However, let's say we do have a little bit of money left over. By law, we cannot use that money from that bond referendum and from 2019 to pay for any of the day-to-day expenses that a school district takes on. We would have to use it on, as I said earlier, mortar and bricks. That's what a bond referendum is for. And the last question that I get a lot, which is pretty sensical, when is the vote and where can I vote? Well, again, it is in conjunction with the general election on November 2nd. There is only one polling place, and that is the city of Dawson here in town. Again, if you would like to vote, but you aren't going to be around, maybe you are already going to be flying south for the winter, whatever may be the case, you're busy, your job is taking you out of town, whatever on that day. If you would like to vote absentee, you can certainly come in here to the district office, which, like I said, is currently being housed in the ag classroom and the ag offices with Mr. Sherb. You can certainly come in here. We have all the materials here. We have the ballot counter and everything else. And you can vote that way as well. Although there are most likely other questions, I'm sure there will be. These are the most common questions that I get. I'm certainly sure there are more out there, and I am not hesitant to come meet you wherever. I'll go to a cafe, I'll come to your house, I'll come to the business, whatever may be the case. You can come in here and we'll talk. And I'm not saying that you have to agree with me, but I'm going to give you the facts. And at least when you're talking with people in the group that you're with and so forth, at least you have the facts. And that's my main goal, is to make sure that you have that information readily in front of you. So again, operational levy on November 2nd. It will be during the general election. The only polling place in the district will be at the Dawson-Boyd City Hall. If you need an absentee ballot, you can certainly stop in here at the school. We are located in the ag classroom and ag offices where Mr. Sherb's classes are, at least for the time being, and we can get you set up and you can vote that way as well. So again, thank you very much. Thank you for these brief couple of minutes that we were able to, I could share with you the information that I have. And as always, if you have any questions, my door is always open. Certainly come in, call me, email me, whatever may be the case. Like I said, I just want to get the information out there. So with that, thank you very much and have a great weekend.